Mama, Daddy's got another woman. Every time you leave for work, he brings her here and they take your money. From that box in the closet, my son whispered with that cruel innocence only children are capable of. Hearing that, I felt the world stop. In my mind, I immediately canceled my business trip, cleared my schedule for the next day, and in that very moment began constructing a plan to catch them. This story ended some time ago, but before I tell you how, I want to welcome everyone listening. If you don't mind, let me know where you're tuning in from. I'm curious about my audience. Enjoy the story. The morning began with the usual ritual of packing, perfected over years of business trips, where every movement was automatic. I was placing charcoal gray power suits into my black suitcase, neatly folding silk blouses according to a practiced scheme. Sleeves inside, collar smoothed out. I checked the thick folder of documents, supply contracts for building materials, specifications for the new residential complex, estimates with dozens of line items. The Chicago office was waiting for the project presentation. The expansion of our branch depended on its success. Laptop in a shock-proof case, chargers coiled in a specific way to prevent tangling, leather business card holder with embossed lettering. Everything was placed in its designated spot with the mechanical precision of a person who spent half their life flying between Atlanta and Chicago. Reflected in the closet mirror was the slightly tired face of a 35-year-old woman who had learned to keep her back straight, even after sleepless nights over blueprints and load calculations. Kenyatta Dubois. Gold letters on a business card. Head of the project department for the region's largest construction company. Behind me lay 10 years of climbing the career ladder, starting as a junior estimator, back when I had to prove every figure to picky old-school foremen. I fixed my dark hair, pulled tight into a fresh bun at the nape of my neck, and felt that familiar pulling sensation in my chest. 3 days without Jelani felt like 3 weeks of separation in my mind. "Jelani, baby, come say bye-bye," I called out, snapping the suitcase locks shut. Usually, he would run in immediately, the thumping of bare feet on the hardwood, hugging my knees, demanding I bring him something cool from the city. But today, an unusual silence hung over the 3-bedroom apartment on the 7th floor. I walked into the hallway, decorated in a minimalist style. White walls, the only decoration being an abstract painting bought at a charity auction. And then I saw him. A small figure in Black Panther pajamas stood frozen by the nursery door. His narrow shoulders were slumped, arms hanging limply by his sides. His gaze was buried in the geometric pattern of the floor. "Jelani, what's wrong?" I squatted down, trying to catch the look in those deep brown eyes he inherited from his father. "You don't want Mama to leave? I'll be back soon. You won't even notice I'm gone." He slowly raised his head, and I felt a chill run down my spine. Swimming in those child's eyes was not the whim of a 6-year-old boy used to his mother's departures, not resentment that he was staying with Daddy and his tablet again, but a real, non-childish terror, the kind adults have when carrying an unbearable burden. "Remember that Transformer robot at Target?" I tried to change the subject, stroking his soft cheek where baby fat still lingered. "The one that turns into a race car? You showed me last week. I'll bring it to you from Chicago. Deal?" From downstairs, from the first floor of the building, came Trayvon's impatient voice. "Kenyatta, the Uber's been waiting for 20 minutes. The whole schedule is going to go to hell." "Just a minute!" I shouted back, trying to hide my irritation, and turned to my son again. "Listen to Daddy, okay? Don't stay up late watching cartoons. Go to bed on time. Don't forget to brush your teeth." At the word Daddy, Jelani's body tensed up like a string ready to snap from tension. For a second, he stood motionless, as if gathering the courage to jump into cold water, and then he threw himself around my neck with such force that I barely kept my balance in my heels. His thin arms, smelling of baby soap, squeezed me so desperately that it became hard to breathe. "Jelani, sweetie, what is it?" I whispered, hugging his trembling body. He pressed his lips to my ear, and a hot, ragged whisper burned my skin. "Mama, Daddy's got another woman. Every time you leave for work, he brings her here, to our apartment." The world around me seemed to lose its color, turning into a blurry black and white photograph. I tried to pull back, to look into my son's eyes, to make sure I hadn't misheard, but he clung to me tighter, continuing to whisper in a voice trembling with tears. They go into you and Daddy's bedroom and take money from the wooden box in the closet where your earrings are. Daddy said to stay quiet. He continued. He said, if I tell anyone, especially you, you'll get very, very upset and leave us. Like, leave for good. Abandon me, and I'll be all alone. The taxi downstairs honked impatiently 3 times. Trayvon's voice, amplified by the echo of the stairwell, boomed with undisguised irritation. Kenyatta, are you kidding me? The flight is in an hour and a half, and it's at least 40 minutes to Hartsfield Jackson. I looked at my son, pressing his whole body against mine, and in my head, like slides in an old projector, images of the last few months flashed by. The carved mahogany chest from Big Mama, a gift from my late grandmother, where I kept cash for unforeseen expenses. Money had been disappearing time after time. $500 here, $1,000 there. Ms. Odessa, our housekeeper, an older black woman in her 60s who had worked for us for nearly 10 years, becoming practically a family member. How she had cried in our kitchen, wiping mascara across her wrinkled cheeks, swearing on her grandbaby's health that she hadn't taken a dime. How Trayvon, curling his lip in disgust, had lectured her, Ms. Odessa, let's cut the drama. There's only us 3 and you in the house. Jelani is a child. He couldn't reach it. Me and Kenyatta, we're the owners. We have no reason to steal from ourselves. That only leaves you. And I had believed my husband. I nodded silently when he said he would fire her himself while I was at the office, so I wouldn't have to look into the eyes of a thief. Thank you for telling me the truth, I exhaled, kissing his forehead, damp with tears. You are the bravest boy in the world, the most honest. Mama is proud of you. Now go to your room and lock the door from the inside, okay? Don't come out until I call you myself. This is important. He nodded with such readiness, as if he had just been waiting for clear instructions, and ran off, his bare feet slapping against the floor. The lock clicked. I slowly straightened up, walked to the mirror in the hallway, and mechanically fixed a loose strand of hair. My hands remained absolutely calm. This surprised me. Inside, where a storm of pain, resentment, and rage had been raging a minute ago, everything had turned into ice, transparent, hard with sharp edges. The business trip was mentally crossed out. Months of preparation for the presentation went down the drain, but that no longer mattered. Now I had a different task. Slowly, holding the banister, I walked down the stairs, intentionally clicking my heels loudly on the steps. On the second-to-last step, I pretended to stumble, grabbed the wall, and pressed my palm to my temple. Trayvon, my voice came out truly weak, trembling. I feel sick. My head is spinning. Everything's blurry. My husband's face, flushed from running around and yelling, twisted into a grimace of irritation, but only for a moment. I managed to catch a flash of sharp disappointment, almost annoyance, in his light brown eyes before the professional sales manager put on the familiar mask of a concerned spouse. What happened? Is your blood pressure spiking again? He caught me by the arm with his large hand, from which I now wanted to recoil as if from a jellyfish sting. You haven't complained about that in a long time. Come on, let's lie down. His touch, familiar just yesterday after 11 years of marriage, now burned through the thin fabric of my blouse. But I forced myself to lean on his arm, allowed him to lead me to the bedroom. That same bedroom with the large king-sized bed under the beige spread, which he, it turned out, shared with another woman in my absence. Need to let the Uber go, Trayvon muttered, sitting me on the edge of the bed, and call Mr. Henderson in Chicago to tell him you're not coming. He's gathering the whole department for your arrival. You call. I leaned back on the pillow, closing my eyes. Say the old pressure issue came back. He'll understand. While Trayvon bustled about, bringing water in my favorite mug with the Atlanta skyline, getting the blood pressure monitor and pills from the cabinet, canceling the taxi. I watched his phone out of the corner of my eye, left on the nightstand next to the lamp. The screen lit up. A notification arrived. Telegram messenger. Contact saved as N. The text of the message burned into my memory. Today fell through. Yours didn't leave. Yours. Not Kenyatta, not your wife. Yours. Like a thing, like an inanimate object interfering with plans. I slowly clenched my fists under the down comforter, feeling my nails dig into my palms. Naomi. 3 months ago, a new employee with that name appeared in Trayvon's sales department. I met her at the Christmas corporate. A short, bleached blonde woman of about 27 in a tight dress with sequins, spending the whole evening hovering near the management table. "Your hubby is popular with the young ones," Sheila from accounting had whispered then, nodding at the dance floor. I had just brushed it off. Who cares who hovers around whom at corporate parties? The liquor flows, everyone loosens up. The evening dragged on endlessly. I feigned drowsiness and weakness. Trayvon fussed around with exaggerated care, periodically glancing at his phone where, judging by everything, a text exchange with a disappointed mistress was breaking off. Jelani peeked out of his room a couple of times, but receiving a subtle sign from me to stay put, obediently hid again. By 10 in the evening, convinced I was asleep, Trayvon retreated to his home office. Judging by his muffled voice, he spoke to someone on the phone for a long time, making excuses and soothing them. The next morning began at 6:30 with the continuation of the performance. I convinced Trayvon to go to the office. "Work won't wait. I just need rest and quiet. I can handle it myself. I'm not a baby." He resisted for show for about 15 minutes, then agreed with poorly concealed relief. As soon as the door slammed behind him, as soon as the sound of his Lexus faded in the courtyard, I waited exactly 10 minutes, in case he forgot something and came back, and stood up. No dizziness, no weakness. Only cold, methodical determination to see this through to the end. First call. Thaddeus King, a lawyer with 20 years of experience who handled legal support for our construction company and had helped out more than once in difficult situations with dishonest contractors. "Thaddeus, good morning. It's Kenyatta Dubois. Sorry for the early call. I need an urgent consultation on a personal matter." "Ms. Dubois, good morning. I'm listening." I laid out the situation as dryly as possible, in legal language, without unnecessary emotions, suspicion of adultery, systematic theft of funds from the home, the need to collect an evidentiary base for divorce proceedings, and a potential criminal case. Years of working with documents had taught me to get to the point without beating around the bush. "I understand your situation. Do you plan any specific actions to document the facts?" "I want to install hidden surveillance cameras in my apartment, in the bedroom and my husband's office. Is that legal?" "If the apartment is in your name or is joint property, and the purpose of installation is documenting a crime and protecting assets, then yes, you have the right. The recordings can be accepted by the court as evidence. But I strongly recommend not doing anything impulsive. Ms. Dubois, gather the materials and hand them to me. From there, we will act strictly within the legal field." Second call. Tyrell, a private investigator whose number a colleague gave me after a nasty story involving material theft at one of the construction sites. "Tyrell, good morning. This is Kenyatta Dubois. Elvira recommended you. I need an urgent installation of hidden surveillance systems in an apartment today or tomorrow at the latest." "What specific rooms are you interested in?" "Bedroom and home office. It is important that my husband doesn't notice anything. He knows tech. Modern devices are almost impossible to detect without special equipment. Micro cameras are disguised as ordinary household items. Smoke detectors on the ceiling, desk clocks, photo frames, even screws in furniture. Full HD quality. Online viewing through a secure app on your phone or laptop. I can come by tomorrow morning while your husband is at work." "Excellent. And one more thing. I need a hotel room as close to my building as possible, for the day after tomorrow, with good internet to organize surveillance." "Understood. I'll handle it. I'll send accommodation options to your WhatsApp within an hour." Finishing the negotiations, I leaned back in the leather chair in the living room, looking through the window at morning Atlanta, waking up under the February sun. The plan was taking clear shape. technical equipment under the control of a professional, legal support from a proven specialist, an operational base for surveillance. Everything was like working on a construction project where I was used to calculating risks 3 steps ahead. Only the stakes were immeasurably higher. It wasn't about million-dollar contracts and profit percentages, but about regaining control over my own life, which the people closest to me were trying to steal. "Mama!" A tousled head peeked into the living room door. "Can I come in? I'm hungry." "Of course, baby. Come here." Jelani ran up, settling on my lap in his usual way, wrapping his arms around my neck. "Are you really not going anywhere? Staying home?" "I'm staying. Mama is going to be home now." I kissed the top of his head, inhaling the scent of chamomile baby shampoo. "And you know what? Everything is going to be okay. Mama promises." He nodded with such adult seriousness that my heart squeezed painfully. 6 years old, an age when they should be thinking about Legos and cartoons, not keeping terrible adult secrets, carrying them inside for months, afraid of losing their only close person. "Mom, can we have pancakes?" he asked, cheering up a little. "The fluffy ones you make?" "Of course we can. With syrup?" "Yes!" He jumped up joyfully. "And with bacon, too!" In the kitchen, equipped with the latest technology, induction stove, built-in coffee machine, dishwasher that Trevon chose, assuring me it would make life easier, I mixed the batter for pancakes, mechanically performing familiar movements. Meanwhile, a strategy for the coming days was being built in my head. Trevon was living in blissful ignorance. He didn't know that the little boy his father had terrorized for months with the fear of losing his mother had found the strength to reveal the truth. Naomi, with her painted lashes and ambitions of a provincial hunter for wealthy men, didn't suspect that her days as a mistress to a married man were numbered. And I, flipping another golden pancake on the skillet, was calmly and methodically building a system that would allow me not just to catch the traitors by surprise, not just to expose their baseness, but to do it in such a way that the collected evidence would become irrefutable facts in a courtroom. The third call turned out to be the hardest. I dialed the number I knew by heart, feeling my fingers tremble with shame. The phone rang for a long time, too long. Ms. Odessa clearly saw who was calling and didn't want to answer. On the 8th ring, the receiver was finally picked up. "Hello?" The voice was muffled, wary, as if the woman expected new accusations. "This is Kenyatta. Please don't hang up. I need to talk to you." Silence, then a quiet sigh. "What do you want from me? Wasn't the shame enough?" "Forgive me." The words burst out in a lump, stuck in my throat. "I know you didn't steal anything. I know I was a fool. I let myself be deceived. The real thief is my husband, and I'm going to catch him red-handed." A sob was heard on the other end of the line, then a noisy blowing of the nose. "How can that be?" Her voice trembled. "I nursed Jelani since he was in diapers for 10 years, and you believed him. Not me. I was blind, but now I see. I need your help. I want you to be there when I expose them, so you can be the first to see your good name restored." "I'm scared," she admitted after a pause. "What if he tries something? Your man is mean when he needs to be." "I promise. Nothing will happen to you. Please, it's important to me that you be there." Another long pause, then decisive. "All right, I'll come. Tell me where and when." The next morning, I staged the dizziness performance again, convincing Trevon to take Jelani for the whole day, take him to the Andretti Indoor Karting Center, then to his mother's, who doted on her grandson and was ready to fuss over him for days. "Are you sure you can handle being alone?" my husband asked, pulling on his jacket, but the sparks of anticipation were already dancing in his eyes. "I just need peace, quiet, and sleep. Go, have fun with our son." As soon as the door closed behind them, I rushed to the window, looking out into the yard. The silver Lexus pulled out of the parking lot and turned right. At exactly 10 a.m., the doorbell rang. Tyrell and an assistant, both in blue electrician coveralls with toolboxes. Ordinary maintenance guys, the kind you see in high-rises every day. Come in, quick. I led them to the bedroom. How long will it take? An hour max. Tyrell scanned the room with a professional eye. Smoke detector on the ceiling, clock on the nightstand. What are you planning for the office? A photo frame on the desk, so the safe is in view. They worked silently and swiftly, opening device casings, installing miniature cameras, connecting power. At 11:00 a.m., the doorbell rang again. Ms. Odessa, who had aged 5 years in these months, wearing her Sunday church hat, covering her graying hair. Ms. Odessa. I hugged her right on the threshold, feeling her thin shoulders trembling. Forgive me. She burst into tears on my shoulder, speaking through the sobs. If you only knew how hard it was. Neighbors looking sideways, grandkids asking why Grandma Odessa doesn't go to work anymore, and I'm no thief. Lord is my witness. I know. I'll fix everything, I promise. I led her to the kitchen, sat her at the table, poured sweet tea into the china set she had always loved. I explained the plan. Hidden cameras are already being installed. Tomorrow I'll pretend to leave on a business trip. I'll be watching from a hotel near. I want you to see their faces when they realize they can't lie anymore. The expression on her face changed. Tears of resentment were replaced by cold determination. I'll be there. Don't you doubt it. I want to look that devil in the eye. After the technicians and my former housekeeper left, I went to the closet in the bedroom and took out the carved mahogany box. Big Mama's wedding gift. Inside was empty. Even the velvet lining was matted in the places where the bills used to lie. Smiling joylessly, I opened my work bag and pulled out a thick stack of $100 bills, $5,000 I had withdrawn from the Bank of America ATM the day before yesterday. I methodically photographed each one, recording the serial numbers. Then I neatly placed them in the box, locked it with the tiny key, and returned it to its place. The evening passed in tense anticipation. Trayvon and Jelani returned around 8, both tired. My son was falling asleep on his feet. My husband was unusually quiet. After putting the child to bed, I returned to the living room where Trayvon was watching some series. "How was your day?" I asked, settling into the armchair opposite. "Fine. Your son ate everything at McDonald's and asked for seconds." "Mama will be thrilled. She fried him enough catfish for a week ahead." "Your son." "Not ours. Not mine. Yours." Interesting slip of the tongue, by the way. He continued, not tearing his eyes away from the screen. "Tomorrow you still need to go to Chicago?" "Yes. Mr. Henderson rescheduled the meeting for tomorrow. Says it's the last chance. Then the investor flies to the States. Back to New York for a month." Trayvon tried to look indifferent, but I noticed his Adam's apple bob as he swallowed. "Well, work is work. I'll drive you, if you want." "Thanks, honey. Let's do like last time. Just drop me at the entrance." The morning of the third day began with a carefully rehearsed performance. I put on a sharp suit, gathered my hair in a bun, checked documents. Trayvon was humming in the shower, a rare display of good mood in the mornings. At breakfast, Jelani ate pancakes with strawberries, glancing at me with understanding eyes. "Mom, are you coming back soon?" he asked, licking the spoon. "In 3 days, baby. Be good. Listen to Daddy." "Take care of yourself, Mom," he whispered. And I realized my son knew this was no ordinary business trip. In the car, Trayvon turned on the radio, tapping the rhythm on the steering wheel, whistling. At the interchange, he asked, "Going for long? Maybe you'll come back early." 3 days minimum. The subcontractors are coming in too. We'll need to coordinate everything." He nodded, trying to hide a smile. At the airport, he insisted on carrying my suitcase to the entrance. Hugged me goodbye, kissed me on the forehead. His lips were cold, like a snake's. I forced myself to smile, waved my hand, and disappeared behind the glass doors. Turning around, I saw him standing by a column, waiting, making sure I really left. But instead of the check-in counter, I turned into a side corridor leading to the arrivals area. After years of flights, I knew Hartsfield-Jackson like my own apartment. In the restroom, I locked myself in the far stall and opened the suitcase. A simple coffee-colored dress, a dark scarf covering my hair, large sunglasses, a medical mask. 5 minutes later, the elegant business lady vanished, transforming into a tired middle-aged woman meeting relatives. I exited through the arrivals area and got into a taxi called from a burner phone. "The Ritz-Carlton," I told the driver, rolling down the window. Room 502 greeted me with the hum of technology. 2 laptops on the desk, wires, adapters. Tyrell sat in front of the screens, adjusting the image. Next to him in an armchair was Ms. Odessa, holding prayer beads, nervously fingering them. "Everything ready?" I asked, taking off the scarf. "Picture is excellent, sound is clear, waiting for guests." We didn't have to wait long. At 11:10 a.m., the camera in the hallway recorded movement. Trayvon entered the apartment, still in the same shirt he wore to drop me off. He unbuttoned the top buttons, fell onto the sofa, and took out his phone. "Coast is clear, baby." His voice sounded crystal clear through the laptop speakers. "She's gone. Put her on the plane myself. Hurry up, I missed you." Triumphant laughter. Then he added, "And put on that red dress I bought you. I want to see you in it on our bed." My former housekeeper gasped, pressing her hand to her mouth. 20 minutes later, the doorbell rang. A tall woman with bleached hair in a tight red dress with a deep neckline appeared on the screen. Naomi herself. As soon as Trayvon opened the door, she threw herself around his neck, and they merged in a long, greedy kiss right in the hallway, not shy, reveling in the moment. "Missed me?" he asked when they finally broke apart. 3 days without you is torture. Show me our house, finally." Our house? Those words made me shudder. They went up to the bedroom, and that's when the real show began. Naomi picked up our wedding photo from the nightstand, the one where Trayvon and I are laughing, young and happy. She took the snapshot out of the silver frame, examining my face for a long time. "Nothing special," she snorted. "Regular boring housewife. No wonder you found yourself a better woman." She crumpled the photo and threw it into the wastebasket. Trayvon laughed. "Forget about her. Look what I prepared for you instead." He walked to the closet, pushed aside my dresses. Naomi immediately declared, "I'm putting all this junk on eBay when I move in here. We'll buy normal clothes." Trayvon took out the box, handed it to his mistress. She opened it, and her eyes lit up with greedy fire at the sight of the stacks of bills. "How much is here?" She exhaled, grabbing a $100 bill. "5,000, but that's just the beginning, baby." Naomi squealed with delight, started tossing bills into the air. They fell onto the bed like confetti at a party. Then she fell onto the money, spreading her arms. "This is what I love. This is why I adore you." "And what about my manly charm?" Trayvon grinned, lying down next to her. "That too, but this paper warms me better." They laughed and started kissing right on the scattered hundreds. The scene was so vulgar that Ms. Odessa turned away. "It gets worse," Tyrell warned. "Brace yourselves." And indeed, after a half-hour pause, during which I tried not to think about what was happening in my bedroom, they started talking again. Naomi, lying on my pillow, asked, "Listen, what's next? I can't be a mistress forever. I'm 28, clock's ticking." "Everything is going according to plan." Trayvon lit a cigarette, even though he never smoked in the bedroom. "This cash is peanuts. She has savings in Chase and stocks, her dad's brownstone in D.C., which rents for $3,000 a month. The vacation home in Savannah and the Swedish share in the LLC that her daddy signed over to her before he died. Dividends drop every quarter, $500,000 minimum." "And how are you going to take all that?" "She's not stupid. She'll notice. For starters, I'll slowly transfer from her accounts. Passwords to online banking? I know them. She trusts me." He blew smoke at the ceiling. "Small amounts to shell accounts. Then I'll start making purchases with her cards. Delivery to a parcel locker. She works a lot. Won't catch on immediately." "And if she does catch on?" Trayvon put out the cigarette and turned to his mistress. "By that time, I'll have a better trump card. You know what Xanax is? Or Valium? Sedatives, tranquilizers. In small doses causes lethargy, memory lapses, emotional instability. I'll say it's vitamins for her dizziness. I'll add it to her tea, water, gradually increasing the dose. Silence hung in the hotel room. Ms. Odessa crossed herself. Lord, save and protect. What a devil. Tyrell frowned. That's already conspiracy to commit grievous bodily harm. Serious felony. On the screen, Naomi whistled. Are you serious? What if she ends up in the hospital? Doses will be small, stretched over time. Outwardly, it'll look like nervous exhaustion. She'll start making mistakes at work, forgetting to pick up the kid from school, snapping at people. Then I, as the caring husband, will take her to a doctor. I have a psychiatrist friend, Valeri. For money, he'll write any certificate. He got up from the bed, walked to the window, looking at the city. In 6 months, we'll collect a medical record. Nervous breakdowns, inadequate behavior, wasteful spending. We'll file for conservatorship due to incapacity. And guess who becomes her guardian? You, exhaled Naomi. Exactly. The devoted husband who didn't abandon his sick wife. We'll send her to a nice private clinic far from Atlanta, and we'll manage everything ourselves, the house, the accounts, the business, and most importantly, we get full custody of the boy. At the mention of Jelani, I jumped up, but Tyrell held me by the arm. Sit, we're recording the most important part. Why do you need the kid? Naomi asked. We'll have our own. The boy is extra leverage. While she's in the loony bin, I'll be the sole guardian. Child support, the trust fund she hasn't spent yet, plus the moral right to all property. Since I'm taking care of her son, and when things settle down, we'll send him to boarding school. We'll say we can't cope. The kid has hereditary mental issues, just like his mother. I couldn't hold back anymore. I jumped up and ran to the bathroom where I threw up. Miss Odessa knocked. Honey, hold on, we have to watch until the end. Washing my face with cold water, I returned to the Yumi was just saying, you know, Trayvon, I knew you were slick, but to think it all through like this? I've been planning this for 3 years, he admitted. Ever since I realized she earns more and has that inheritance from her daddy, why should I slave away in my office for pennies when I can live beautifully? He returned to the bed, hugged his mistress. Main thing is, no rush. Everything must look natural. A woman exhausted by work who lost her mind. Me, the suffering husband doing everything possible. You, my rock and support, appearing at the right moment. In a year or year and a half, we'll live in this house as rightful owners. And if her relatives interfere, her mother is in Macon. She's 78, diabetes, cataracts. I'll drive the grandson to her, tell her how hard it is with a sick wife. The old lady herself will ask me to take care of myself for the child's sake. They discuss details for another half hour, which accounts to open, how to process documents, when to start poisoning me with pills. Every word was recorded, fixed, becoming a nail in the lid of their coffin. This was no longer just adultery, not simple theft. It was a detailed plan for a serious crime, systematic poisoning, fraud on an especially large scale, conspiracy to illegally deprive a person of legal capacity, and a planned crime against a child. The material was enough not for one, but for several criminal trials. I stood up from the chair, feeling cold determination fill my whole body, displacing the last remnants of pain and humiliation. Enough, I said, looking at the people frozen by the screens. We have more than enough. This isn't just theft. It's conspiracy to rob, poison, and strip me of parental rights. I want them arrested today. Tyrell nodded, taking out his phone. I have 2 guys from security downstairs, waiting in the car. Police are ready to roll on the first call. I dialed Thaddeus King's number. He answered almost instantly, as if waiting for the call. I have all the evidence. I'm at the Ritz, room 502. Meet the police at my house with all the necessary documents. Leaving immediately, the lawyer answered briefly. The second call was harder. To my mother-in-law, Mrs. Lucille Calloway, a woman who always treated me coolly, considering me not quite a good enough match for her only son. Mrs. Lucille. I added notes of alarm to my voice. My neighbor just called. Says loud noises are coming from our apartment. Sounds like Trayvon fell. Maybe an accident. I'm at the airport in Chicago. I can't come. Please go there urgently. You have the keys. Lord, what happened? I'm going. Real panic was heard in her voice. Third call. Naomi's parents, whose number I found in my husband's company database. Mr. Robinson, this is Kenyatta Dubois. Your daughter Naomi is involved in a very serious story with my husband. I advise you to come urgently to the address, 78 Peachtree Street, apartment 120. We are talking about a criminal case. The road from the hotel to the house took 10 minutes, but in my mind, they stretched to infinity. The car stopped 2 buildings away from ours, hidden by overgrown oak trees. We walked, me in front, behind me Ms. Odessa, Tyrell, and 2 sturdy guys from the security agency. The key turned in the lock with a familiar click. I pushed the door and walked into the hallway where everything looked almost normal. Except for the smell of cheap perfume with a cloying vanilla scent and an open bottle of cola on the coffee table. Trayvon hated soda. On the sofa, bought specially for Jelani's playroom, lay a red patent leather purse. From upstairs came laughter. Naomi's sweet, satisfied laughter, and my husband's low, self-satisfied chuckle. I walked up the stairs, not hiding my steps. My heels tapped out a measured rhythm of retribution. The bedroom door was ajar, and I saw a picture that made even my prepared heart shrink with disgust. Naomi was half reclining on our bed in red lace lingerie. Her bleached hair was scattered over the pillows. Trayvon sat next to her, in just his boxers. Scattered around them on the crisp white sheets were $100 bills. I pushed the door open. The smile instantly vanished from Trayvon's face, replaced by an expression of absolute horror when he saw me, the wife who was supposed to be on a plane to Chicago right now. Naomi needed a second to realize what was happening, after which she let out a piercing squeal and tried to cover herself with the sheet. I stood in the doorway, not saying a word, and my silence was scarier than any screams or accusations. Kenyatta, listen, it's not what it looks like. Trayvon awkwardly tried to get off the bed, reaching out to me. I swear, I can explain everything. I chuckled, coldly, without a shadow of amusement. I knew beforehand, I said calmly. Understanding flashed in his eyes. This isn't a coincidence, it's a trap. Who are these people? What's going on? Naomi shrieked, seeing the others behind my back. She seduced me! Trayvon suddenly shouted, pointing a finger at his mistress. She pressured me, forced me to take the money. This trash blackmailed me. What? Naomi jumped up, forgetting about trying to cover herself. You called her a fool and a cash cow yourself. You planned everything, you snake. They began accusing each other, shouting out dirtier and dirtier details, and I let them destroy each other with words, calmly watching this pathetic spectacle. Tyrell, connect the laptop to the TV, I ordered, when their bickering reached its climax. A minute later, footage appeared on the big screen in the bedroom. Trayvon's call. Coast is clear, baby. Their kiss in the hallway, Naomi throwing bills in the air, and most importantly, Trayvon with a devilish smile, explaining the plan with the sedatives. His recorded voice filled the room. I'll add it to her tea. She'll lose her memory, become incapacitated. I'll become her guardian. We'll take everything, including full custody of Jelani. I paused the recording on the frame where my husband's face was twisted with a gloating smile. You didn't just want to steal my money. My voice trembled with suppressed rage. You wanted to erase me as a person, take my mind, take my son. Hurried steps and Mrs. Lucille's anxious voice were heard on the stairs. Trayvon, where are you? They told me it was an accident. She flew into the room and froze on the threshold, seeing her son half naked on the floor, a strange woman in a sheet, and money scattered on the bed. On the TV screen, her son's frozen face still held the smile of a man planning a monstrous crime. Mama, this isn't what you think, Trayvon mumbled. Kenyatta set it all up. She's a psychopath. I gave a short laugh. You wanted me declared crazy so badly. Let's listen one more time. and I played the fragment of the recording with the poisoning plan. Trayvon's voice clearly pronounced, sedatives, bribed psychiatrist, declaration of incapacity, custody of Jelani, boarding school for the kid. Mrs. Lucille's face seemed to collapse in on itself. You were going to poison the mother of your child? She whispered, swaying. In the doorway appeared Naomi's parents, Mr. Robinson, a large man with graying temples, and his wife, Tanya. Seeing their daughter wrapped in a sheet next to a half-naked married man, the father looked at her with eyes full of rage and the deepest shame. "Daddy, I'm sorry," Naomi began. "Shut up!" he barked. "From this day on, don't you dare call me father. I don't have a thief and a homewrecker for a daughter." He turned away demonstratively. Mrs. Lucille slowly walked up to her son, looking at him as if seeing him for the first time. "You stole from your wife. You accused an innocent woman." She pointed to Ms. Odessa, who stood by the wall with a stone face. Trayvon was silent, head down. The first slap sounded like a gunshot. The second followed. Then Mrs. Lucille started hitting her son in the chest with her fists, sobbing with rage and shame. "Who did I raise? You are not my son. You disgraced our family, our name." Trayvon didn't defend himself, allowing his mother to pour out all the pain and disappointment on him. Two uniformed police officers entered the room. Behind them, Thaddeus King. "Good afternoon. I am the victim's attorney," he introduced himself. "My client is the owner of this residence. These two were caught in the act of theft. There are audio and video recordings of planning more serious crimes, including conspiracy to cause grievous bodily harm and fraud on an especially large scale." Tyrell handed the officers a flash drive with copies of all recordings. "I didn't do anything," Naomi squealed. "It's all him. He tricked me." "You'll have the opportunity to give a statement at the precinct," the senior officer interrupted her. "At this moment, you are detained on suspicion of committing a crime." The click of handcuffs on Trayvon's wrists sounded like a final chord. He tried to catch his mother's eye, but she turned away, unable to look at him. Naomi walked past her father, who stood with his back to her. His shoulders shook with sobs. They were led out of the apartment, and soon the doors of a police cruiser slammed in the courtyard. When the noise subsided, only I, Thaddeus King, Ms. Odessa, and Mrs. Lucille remained in the house. Mrs. Lucille looked crushed by grief, as if the whole world had collapsed on her shoulders. You're going to divorce him?" Her voice trembled. "What do you think?" I answered softly, though there was not a shadow of doubt in my soul. "And Jelani? Can I see my grandson?" "Of course. Let him spend the night with you tonight. I'll talk to him myself when the time is right." My mother-in-law nodded and left, unable to raise her eyes. When the three of us remained, I turned to the "I want a divorce as fast as possible, full custody of Jelani, restraining order against the father." "With such evidence, there won't be problems," Thaddeus assured me. Then I looked at Ms. Odessa, who had been silent all this time. "No money will bring back your good name, but I want to help you start a new life." Taking out my phone, I opened my banking app and transferred a sum to her card sufficient for a down payment on a small condo. Open your own bakery, a catering service, whatever you want. Be your own boss. Seeing the amount on the screen, she pressed her hand to her chest. "This is too much. This isn't even half of what your honor is worth." Ms. Odessa burst into tears, but now they were tears of relief. "God bless you, baby. The Lord will give you health." A year later, I stood on the balcony of our new apartment on the 25th floor, holding a cup of hot tea, watching evening Atlanta light up its lights. Below, Peachtree sparkled like a white ribbon. In the distance, the city skyline glowed. "Mom, what's 25 minus 7? Jelani asked, bent over a math notebook. "Try it yourself. I know you can handle it." My phone vibrated. A message from Thaddeus King. "Appeal denied. Sentence is effective. Case closed. Trayvon got 7 years in prison. Naomi, 2 years probation. But that no longer mattered. The last thread connecting me to the nightmare had snapped. "I know! 18! My son exclaimed joyfully. Good job, my smart boy. I ruffled his hair. My gaze returned to the city. The lights shimmered like little promises. The past was over. We had passed through the darkest night and come out to a new dawn. Just me and my son, who found the courage to tell the truth. Did you like the story? And which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If you like the story, you can support me by sending a super thanks so I can keep bringing more stories like this. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story with love and respect.